For me, Christmas is really kind of the biggest holiday there is. I mean, there's the whole religious thing being a Christian. Happy birthday, Jesus. But I guess what I really love about it, aside from that, is all the bells and whistles that go along with it. Speaking of which, this is a Christmas special, so we need our opening bells and whistles. One such example, perhaps the main such example of those bells and whistles, is the Christmas tree. As a kid, I decorate the tree with my mom. Even to this day, when my mom comes to visit us in Southern California, usually in early November, sometimes in October even, we put up and decorate our Christmas tree. It's definitely not a real one. Sure, we decorate the tree because early Christians stole the idea from ancient Germans, but hey, that helped them sell the holiday, and clearly it worked. One type of gift I'd often get under the Christmas tree? Comic books. I became a comic book fan when I turned 8 years old. For my birthday that year, my Uncle Lou, Aunt Marlene, cousins Brian, Brad, and Rhonda got me this comic book, along with a Salvo action figure. It changed my life. After that, comics were a pretty constant part of Christmas morning. One Christmas morning, this box came to me, filled with 100 random comic books, bags and boards, all the stuff that I needed to get started as a collector. It even included this specific comic, which is one of my all-time favorite comic book covers. It was once even used as an obstacle for a remote control car on Christmas Day. To all the comics that were inside this box, to comics from Foodland and Superior Sports Card, both in Natrona Heights, comics have long been a part of my Christmases. While those comics were nestled under a Christmas tree, they weren't really Christmassy. However, from a Superman Christmas special in 1944 to She-Hulk and Lobo Christmas specials in the late 80s and early 90s, and even the Long Halloween, comics have dabbled in the greatest of holidays, although the Long Halloween, it kind of dabbled in every holiday. Hey, there's a Christmas page. Even Power Pack got into the act. What is Power Pack, you ask? It's the comic you always find in the dollar bins. It's also better than you think. It even won an Eagle Award, although I have to admit I have no idea what that is and it's not even around anymore. Power Pack was created by Louise Simonson and June Brigman. Simonson is a legend in comics as both an editor on X-Men and Star Wars and a writer on X-Factor, New Mutants, and Superman the Man of Steel, among others. Simonson developed the concept when Jim Shooter suggested she be a writer-editor, I guess because Stan Lee was? Anyway, he liked the idea of writer-editors. Louise, knowing there was only so much work to go around, didn't want to take work from another creative team. Meaning she didn't want to kick a writer off of X-Men or something like that. Shooter then cut her workload by hiring a bunch of new editors. While she was initially hesitant, the now bored Simonson took on the book because she needed something to do. While co-creator June Brigman has illustrated plenty of comic books, she's most known as a comic artist for her work on Power Pack, but really best known for her work as a comic strip illustrator for Brenda Star Reporter from 1995 to 2011 and Mary Worth since 2016. I had no idea those were still around. Well, I guess Brenda Star Reporter isn't around anymore. The Power Pack is made up of siblings Alex, Julie, Jack, and Katie, but no Max.
Max Power! Max Power! You remembered my name!
Alex, aka G, had gravity control. Julie, aka Lightspeed, had flight at the speed of light, hence the rainbow. Jack, aka Massmaster, could become a cloud, get tiny, while maintaining his original weight. Think Vapor Ant-Man or a purely superficial diet. And finally Katie, aka Energizer, could absorb molecules and turn them into energy. Their dad was a scientist that made a super powerful energy source that could also destroy planets. Unintended consequences, I guess. An alien named Whitey, not me, crashed and as he died, told them of the danger of their dad's new energy source. But the real important part is that he went Green Lantern and passed on his power as he died. Instead of gifting a magical ring, he split his various powers between the 4 kids. Power Pack always felt as if it were meant to be something else. In fact, it almost was a TV show that actually went to pilot.
I just hope I didn't make a mistake.
If you watch the pilot, you'll see why it never went beyond just the pilot. However, it's worth watching, just as a curiosity. Although, as a kid in the early 90s, I would have happily watched it back to back with Saved by the Bell. The comic, which began in 1984, lasted for 62 issues, ending in 1991. Both the attempted TV show and the holiday special came after the cancellation of the book. According to Walter Simonson, Louise's husband and comic legend in his own right, remember this comic? That's his awesome work. He believes the book was done to reestablish the status quo, to sort of correct some of the things that other creative teams did later in the comic's run. The title on the first page kind of fits with this idea, as it's called Small Changes. They never really did anything with Power Pack, but if they wanted to, they now have the purest version to do so. While on the surface it seemed to be just about kids with superpowers, and it was that, it also tackled some more serious issues. Kinda sounds like Saved by the Bell with superpowers after all. But in a way that was kind of palatable to a young person or a child at the time, such as myself.
If I could save time in a bottle.
Now that's all great, but this is a holiday special, so maybe we shouldn't be so serious. And this is a holiday special, right? Barely, but it's also pretty good. Right away, we are reacquainted with the team, or at least where the previous creative team left them. We also meet the Smart Ship, who is essentially Kid from Knight Rider but capable of space travel. How didn't this get made as a TV show? Anyway, the ship's name? Friday.
Friday, send him home. Yep.
Oh, come on!
The opening is really reflective of the true storytelling power of the Power Pack, at its best. Julie cries as she talks to a picture of the family. She recounts the seemingly silly story of a poodle skirt that becomes painfully tragic and oh so real. It deals with the idea that it seems so fun to be a superhero, to have this great power, but the reality is something much more difficult to deal with. They miss their mom and dad. Dad is in the coma, by the way. Wait a second. That dad looks an awful lot like Walter Simonson. And mom looks a whole lot like the person who wrote this book and commonly is referred to as Wheezy. While I don't know Walter Simonson, I did meet him briefly a few years ago at a panel at Comic-Con hosted by one of my grad school writing teachers, Mark Evanier. And so I got to go up there and say hi after. So I then reached out to him in regards to this, saying, hey, you don't know me, but you met me briefly and we kind of know someone that knows someone kind of thing. But the cool thing is, he responded. I asked him, is that guy supposed to look like you? Mr. Simonson, being as awesome as you'd imagine, replied, yes, June Brigman, the original artist, used both Wheezy and me as the Power parents in the comic. And when the Powers moved to NYC around issue 5 or so, that's our old apartment on the west side they're living in. We photographed the heck out of the apartment as reference for June. Both she and John Bogdanov, the succeeding artist, used it. Sorry to John Bogdanov, your name is tricky. It's as tricky as my name to say. Goluj? G-O-L-J-U-H? Anyway, the first few pages are really dense with exposition. And I don't mean that as an insult, because you gotta understand, it's a lot of work to do to make sure you sort of reestablish things and reacquaint audiences with this team. You have a book that is trying to catch people up while rebuilding, and that is by no means easy, but here it works. One of the changes that Wheezy and June hit the reset button on was having the oldest brother Alex having transformed into a Chimelian. Kimmel? I'm inverting the order of things here a bit, but it turns out he wasn't the brother, but a pseudoplasmic replacement, as was the dad. They quickly become a gooey mess, and the kids have to scoop them up. The real versions, including Alex, are held by the Technocrat. Technocrat makes some more pseudoplasmic people, including Julie. He then teleports the real Julie off of Friday, leaving the little kids behind. Alex breaks out and wrecks some havoc, revealing more pseudoplasmic people. He's quickly recaptured. You can't go it alone, pal. You're part of the Power Pack. With the pseudoplasmic imposters dumped into space, the bad guys can no longer monitor the Power Pack. However, those bad guys aren't worried. As the Technocrat says, it's only the small ones left. I so loved this as a kid. I'm the youngest of 4 boys. I can relate to the idea of fear and empowerment when your older siblings are suddenly out of the picture. Also, check out that BMG ad. What a deal! You can almost pay nothing for those cassettes. I just can't forget to cancel or my mom will get mad. Which she totally did when I didn't cancel. Friday heads for Technocrat's moon. Hang on a second. That's no moon. That's a space station. Where have I heard that before?
No moon. It's a...
Friday crashes into the docking bay. In a beautiful moment, she seems to be upon death's door and reveals per a scan the location of humans in the station. We quickly learn it was a ruse as she pretended to be more damaged than she was to get pulled in. Smart ship Friday indeed. Friday is awesome. Oh man, check it out! A Comic-Con at the Station Square Sheraton? You can take the incline and buy some comics and stuff? I just need to convince my mom to drive me down there. But she's probably still mad at me for not canceling BMG. One of the kids makes a joke about running out of bad guys, but we also get a moment that reflects what made Power Pack special. Jack feels guilt for killing those bad guys, even though I'm pretty sure they were just pseudoplasmic bad guys. The kids do their best to comfort their sibling. One even mentions how pseudoplasm even fooled Mr. Fantastic. Apparently pretty much everybody here is pseudoplasm, as even the technocrat dies, and he turns out to be pseudoplasm. We then get one of the coolest aspects of this Power Pack story. The Power Pack trading, or more like giving their powers to each other. When one of the siblings gets into a spot only a certain power can solve, the other sibling that has that power grants them that power. It's another thing I truly love about Power Pack. While they do fight and attack sometimes, as you've seen in the previous scene, their powers are mostly used to assist or escape. Friday isn't dead, and we learn that neither is a technocrat, as the entire station is actually Technocrat's body. Marad, I'm not going to apologize to a lizard cartoon character. Anyway, this shady lizard person sort of eggs on the technocrat the whole time, now suggests a targeted assault on the station. Just attack where the kids are. Sure, you lose a limb, but you get rid of a pesky Power Pack infection. But a shady lizard is as a shady lizard does, and she rattles the missile and betrays the technocrat. This helps the kids survive, for the moment, but the missile targeted the ship's reactor. The impending result? Nuclear holocaust. Those are the words in the comic. Merry Christmas indeed. As the station explodes behind them, Jack struggles to hold the density shield in order to protect his family. Just as it seems he's going to pass out, cut to New Kymelia, where everyone is okay, including mom and dad, who have some kind of mental block. It seems it's a mental block to sort of solve story problems and have them not know that kids are superheroes as it was early in the book. Not unlike what they did many years later with Spider-Man in a story that broke my heart. As a comic book reader, I only knew Spider-Man as a husband. That story, it really killed me, but that's a video for another day. The book wraps up with things seemingly return to normal, and oh, by the way, Merry Christmas! I guess they're back on the west side at the Simonsons' apartment?
Nothing's been the same since New York.
It's almost like the fact that it's a Christmas story is a twist ending. It actually reminds me of a short story I wrote, The Corpse Boy, actually published here. But when I first wrote it, I was going to enter into a bunch of contests to try to get it published. One of those was a contest that was specific to being themed for winter. Not this one, but I added some things to make it wintry sort of at the end. It actually worked really well for the story, and it's still in this version. I wonder if it was a marketing ploy to toss on holiday special to dupe kids like me. I know if I walked up to the comic stand at Foodland and saw Power Pack Special, I'd likely pass. But if I saw Holiday Special, sign me up. So that wraps up Power Pack.
Wait, Dad, there's more.
Oh, that's right. Thanks, kid. As Penny noted, there are 2 more stories here. These are both much more on brand for a holiday special, and one, it's okay, not bad, good, pretty good. But one is really fun. The stories actually remind me of the backup stories in X-Men Classic, another comic I'd find at dollar bins all the time. The first story is about young romance and blooming relationships. It's a nice story and reflects the side of the Power Pack that felt very real, the interpersonal relationships. There's also a Goonies joke, which I liked. I also watched it a million times, recorded off the TV. And there's a really good joke about being Wolverine's friend. However, the last story, Spaceman Jack, by Dan Slott and Alexander Morrissey, is a pure Christmas gem. It's basically the story of Jack, distracted as Christmas approaches. And of course he didn't study because, hey, he didn't know if they were ever going to come back from space. The vengeful Jack goes vapor and then shrinks into his teacher's desk to steal the test answers. There he spots a glow-in-the-dark Ghost Rider comic and reads a postcard about how the teacher's son and grandchildren won't be home for Christmas. Cut to Jack and the Power Pack flying the car to the East Coast. As they fly, there's a joke about Hook, which is itself a Christmas movie. Jack asks for more time to study. The teacher says, okay. but he's now stuck studying on Christmas. How does it all end? Well, in the Age of Apocalypse, Dark Beast did this. Yes, he fused them all together. Is the Power Pack Holiday Special required reading? I'd say no. However, if you like the early run of the comic and want to revisit that and what made the Power Pack special, it's in here, so definitely check it out. But if you do, I would make sure yours has a back cover. Wait a minute. Check that out. Those are some good deals. Marvel Tales, Namor, G.I. Joe, Incredible Hulk. Marvel Age is only $9.45 for 12 issues? Maybe I should splurge though and get Moon Knight or Punisher Warzone. Wolverine? I don't know. I have to ask my mom. I think she's still upset about the whole BMG thing. Merry Christmas. I'm definitely not getting Super Bro.